coaches and the players come out. Webs of lies spinning from their mouths. Stop looking, listen for a little while. Pay no attention to the men behind the curtain. Just look away when you see the blood spurting down to a steady drip. I promise to leave you a little bit. I'll be back for another drink tomorrow. I love the taste of your terror and your sorrow, bathing in your blood. It's never enough.
Hello and welcome to the Iron Mountain Hour. My name is Cliff.
Tim.
And we're joined with the Rev Crash Fistfite. Welcome to my basement abode,
Hey
Rev
man,
Crash.
thanks for having me.
And
Glad to be here.
you actually are a licensed minister, is that correct?
I am an ordained minister.
Yeah.
You should know, dude, because I married you.
That's
I mean,
right.
I didn't physically marry, like, we didn't marry one another.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not that there's anything wrong with
It's
that.
called-
It's not my way.
There is. It's called bigamy. Your wife's upstairs, and I'm
Well,
the man she know about this.
That's true. I'm going to try to stay off the table this time. I noticed when I was listening to my earbuds last time, yeah, we were clomping it quite a bit. So we'll try not to put you through that if anybody listened to earbuds last time.
Show brought to you by Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Now available in all 5 flavors.
And Pfizer.
Purdue.
Well, we'd like to welcome you today because we're going to be talking a little bit about some pharmaceuticals. And the Reverend Crash is also going to give us a crash course on the 27 Club. Now, Tim, I assume being a musician, especially that you're familiar with the 27 Club to an extent,
Yes.
as I somewhat am. But what can you tell us about somebody who doesn't know what the 27 Club is? What could you tell them about it?
All right, here's what I can tell you about the 27 Club, man. It really all kind of started back, I guess it would have been the 30s. I'm not good with actual dates, but Robert Johnson, bluesman extraordinaire, and was said to have sold his soul to Satan at the crossroads. And as the story goes, he couldn't play guitar. And he was at this plantation where they would work during the day and play their instruments and sing those old spirituals at night. And he couldn't play. Everybody kind of made fun of him. So he went to the crossroads and met with this large black man. And he handed him his guitar. And the devil tuned his guitar and handed it to him. And he was noodling, you know. So he goes back that night to the plantation, blows everybody's mind. And so how many ever years later, when he was 27, he died. And that was kind of the start of the whole, because you've got him, and then coming up, you've got, Brian Jones from the Rolling Stones, Death by Misadventure, drowned in his own pool. You've got Jim Morrison, you've got Jimi Hendrix. Jim Morrison actually died on the 2-year anniversary of Brian Jones' death.
Oh.
It's July 3rd, 1971. Yeah, and Brian Jones was July 3rd, 1960. Couldn't hold out to Memorial Day. Or, no, not Memorial Day, Independence Day.
Right.
Yeah, anyway, you knew what I was going for. Anywho, and it's just kind of been like somebody put it together. I don't think that the term 27 Club was ever really used until Kurt Cobain died. Somebody started putting it together because he was the voice of our generation.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine being told at 25, you're the voice of this generation? And they, wonder why he had some problems. But, so yeah, there was him, Amy Winehouse. Who else we got, man? Am I missing anybody?
Well, I don't remember if you said Hendrix.
Janis Joplin?
Joplin.
Janice. Yeah.
What about somebody like Buddy Holly? Was he 27?
He was 22, 23,
Okay, I thought he was
something
younger.
like that.
And James Dean is not a musician, but what about him?
I think he was younger, too.
Okay.
I think so. You've got a lot that kind of hit around 27. Graham Parsons was 26. See, who else? This one's kind of funny. See, I don't know how old Shannon Hoon was. I meant to look that up. I don't know how old Shannon Hoon was, but Graham Parsons was 26. And then at 28, you had Brad Knoll from Sublime, who, I think would have been freaking huge if he had stuck around, man. And if he could have gotten a hold of his demons. So him and somebody that people don't think about a lot is Buff Love from the Fat Boys. He's called the Human Beatbox, the real black one with the diamond glasses. Buff Love from the Fat Boys. He was 28. So you've got a lot that kind of hit around 27. Kind of one thing that people have discussed is that the ones that died at 27 were, that's Amy Winehouse was another one. The ones that died at 27 were the ones that sold their soul.
Yeah. They were kind of the bigger ones too.
Yeah.
Most of the 27, we don't have to say, "Oh, who was that?" I don't remember, you know,
like Buff Love, who was 28.
Yeah.
But and I want to put something out there. Justin Bieber is going to be 28 in March.
He may make it. He may make it yet.
He's not going anywhere.
Come on,
They use him
man.
too much.
I have to feel. Well, I don't know. I started to say I feel like he would have more talent if he had sold his soul, but I hear that kid is actually pretty talented. That he plays several instruments, and you know,
Yeah.
when you're used in a pop context,
Have you heard?
probably don't get to display a lot of that
Like,
talent.
did you see on the internet when he was hugging all over Billie Eilish? Now people are all convinced she's going to be in the 27
Oh, wow.
because he was like like it was some award show they went to, and like he wouldn't leave her side, and then somebody finally asked him, he was like, "I'm protecting her," or something like that. And it was right after he put out that real weird video. What was it?
Didn't Bieber become a Christian or something? And
Oh, I don't know.
He was hanging with that Hillsong guy for a while, the one that walks around the shirt. You can kind of see his dick root. Like,
yeah, he's part of the Hollywood mega preacher.
But I think that guy got kind of canceled too, didn't he?
he got canceled because of that.
Was it because of the root?
Yeah, because
I think he cheated on his wife.
it may have
That
been
probably had a lot to do with it.
Well, when you start.
Christians don't tend to like either one of those.
Well,
Yeah.
no, it's like he's like an LA version of that though. But even like what happened was the internet got hold of him because I'm pretty sure that was a JRE episode where Rogan actually coined that term "dick root" because it was these giant muscles. Running down there.
yeah.
And then like for like at least 2 weeks after that, it was this guy was associated with that term "dick root," and he's a preacher, so it's like he kind of had to go into hiding. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to be associated with that unless you're a porn star.
That's true.
That's a heck of a gag for a porn. Be the porn star
be
preacher,
known as
to
the-
be the preacher. You know,
Well, that-
Reverend Dick Root. Starring Reverend Dick Root
Yeah, so that
as
that
Miles
felt like good.
Deeper.
But Bieber also, around the time he was hugging on Billie Eilish, was right after he released that weird video. What was it called? Food or something like that, where it's just them eating gross food the whole time.
not seen it.
It blew up in the Pizzagate community because they're very sensitive about
I don't
food.
follow him, man.
Okay.
I don't really.
And so we can look it up after the show. But it is a pretty gross. It is a pretty gross video, number one. But
The fact that he said he was protecting her, does it make you wonder if maybe he is the devil?
no, he is what I would call. He could be the devil if I use that. I think we're more the devil than he is. I think he's more like a pawn. You know what I mean? 'Cause it's never the
I'll
really
roll with that.
talented ones that drop at 27. You know, Hendrix wasn't up there like air guitaring; he was actually playing it.
Yeah,
You know,
that's true. Hey, I put
Michael
something
Jackson did
together.
drop at 27. Just put that out there.
Well, we're talking about Satan and the 27 Club. I want to blow you guys' mind real quick.
Please.
I think I might have proof that Eric Clapton is the devil. I'll tell you why. All right, there's a video out there of Hendrix playing. I could have told you where it was if it wasn't on the spot, or I could have told you when it was. It was right after Sgt. Pepper's came out, and the Beatles actually were at this theater watching Hendrix play. I think they said it was Sgt. Pepper came out on Friday, and the show was on Sunday, right? Hendrix comes out and opens his show with Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Blows the Beatles away, right? Now, Eric Clapton was also in the audience. After that song, Hendrix starts saying into the mic, "Where's Eric? Where's Eric? I want him to come up here and tune my guitar." And, you know, the Robert Johnson story is the devil tuned his guitar.
And Eric does
Back
have
you know,
to-
that,
Eric Clapton gave him a guitar,
little
too.
mustache beard going on
He
thing.
does,
you know.
dude.
Did you know that Eric Clapton was gave Hendrix his first actual left-handed guitar? 'Cause
Gave
they
him
didn't
that
make
white
it.
Strat. Is that what it was?
It was like up until a point you saw Hendrix playing an upside down ride.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember when or what, but he started all of a sudden he had a left-handed version of it, or maybe it was the SG. I don't remember, but that was a gift from Eric Clapton.
It'd be appropriate if it was the SG.
That white 3 pickup SG that he had, that he played some.
We can look it up. I know for a fact Eric Clapton gave him a left-handed guitar though.
That's pretty cool.
He had such
Let's look it up right
close
now.
ties.
Let's do it.
I'll get my phone out. Yep.
Do you think the 27 Club was spawned out of the idea? Because I think it was spoken word before the internet, I guess. But like the idea that Robert Johnson even put into the idea, the realm of ideas or whatever, that he had hellhounds chasing him. Because you think he created his own story, and that's what started the idea of the 27 Club to begin with.
That's a theory that's out there. There's also the theory that part of being in the 27, selling your soul to the devil or whatever, is knowing that you're going to die at 27. Amy Winehouse, her little assistant, little gopher guy, said that, I think a couple of months before she died, she said something about, I reckon I'm not going to be around too much longer. Something like that. And so there was that, and Kurt Cobain killed himself. Did he do that before the devil could get him? So many different things. Like he knew the hellhounds were chasing him. Mm-hmm. Sang songs about the crossroads. Clapton sang about the crossroads too, man.
I'm about to introduce some
So
top quality
evidently,
stupidity here in a second.
I can't wait.
He got him a left-handed strap, but never gave it to him.
Okay.
Plating.
So it never got to him. Have you heard the theory that the 2700...
The 700 Club?
I was about to mix in some Gaithers. Have you heard the theory that the 27 Club is a part of a government operation, and they don't die, they just transition them to somebody else? Amy Winehouse,
God, I hope so.
Amy Winehouse became Lady Gaga. And
Okay.
this is a really stupid one. Jimi Hendrix became Morgan Freeman. And
That's perfect.
If you can't find these guys'
I
videos,
just can't seem to keep this guitar.
oh man, they go and just do some math with it too.
That was the longest
I don't
night
want
I had to do Frank's life.
That was Jimi Hendrix on the Shawshank Redemption. I don't want to you can't find this guy's video anymore, but the best ones I could find was by a conspiracy theorist by the name of Dallas Goldbug. Mm-hmm. His videos aren't around anymore, as he is, I'm pretty sure.
Hey, Dallas Goldbug, nice name.
Yeah, but he was the one that was first. He would do the ear thing where they put the perfect ratio thing around the ears, showing they had the same ears, and he'd show Morgan Freeman and Jimi Hendrix actually had the same teeth
dude.
and all this stuff.
Hashtag same dude.
And Amy Winehouse, if his alleged thing on her was all the pictures of her teeth were photoshopped. Like you can't find, and that actually is kind of fishy there. Any picture you can find of Amy Winehouse, her teeth change. They're not
Really?
They're not 100% messed up the same way all the time. And people are always the meth use. It's like, no, they got better at one point, and that big David Letterman gap she had got bigger and smaller. So I don't know. You could probably explain that one away with. Like,
I'm sure you probably could. Camera angles.
Well,
or,
when they
paparazzi
put
was
out-
taking most of those pictures, so
and
they
when
were
they put
probably
out pictures of
photoshopping them
them,
worse.
Right.
Yeah, they clean them up and stuff.
Or make them worse
Yeah.
in the case for
could be either
TMZ
way.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of, I think a lot of times with the paparazzi, they get tipped off by these artists, like, I'm going to be here, or, Amy Winehouse is going to be here at such point if you wanted to show up.
If you wanted to catch me jumping out of the limo with my crotch showing, you could
Right.
be right here.
And, part of the deal with setting stuff like that up could quite possibly be, but you got to fix my teeth, dude. 'Cause
Yeah,
I'm so,
Yeah.
So, I'm going to need you to give me abs before you put this
Right.
this out, because that's part of my deal.
Yeah,
So-
they all rub each other's backs and work together to do pretty much everything. It's all a production when you
It's
see
the
this.
Illuminati, man.
Well,
Let's
it's
talk
the
about the
Hollywood
Illuminati.
machine. I mean, the Hollywood machine could signifying his allegiance here.
He already did with his hat.
Oh, true. Yeah, he's already wearing it. Yeah.
Y'all don't even know.
He did too.
man.
Look at his hat.
Oh, good.
3 stars, baby.
What am I wearing? Stripes, because I know I'm a prisoner in this prison planet.
That's right.
So you can find any of that if you go deep enough.
Yeah, you absolutely can do that.
have
yeah.
you-
Why is he wearing a snake? You know what I'm saying? Liberty or death? Are you trying to get some people to go to a civil war?
Is that violent rhetoric?
One thing I always say is don't tread on me. And God damn it, they're treading on me.
Yeah. Well, don't tread on me can mean a lot of things, and
It's a great Metallica song.
it is. Basically, whatever you feel like your God-given right to do is, then
Don't tread on
Don't
it.
tread on it. Exactly.
That's a good piece.
Don't step on the snake.
A good piece of predictive programming would be in the Powerpuff Girls. The big pink guy that used to run around screaming about his property.
Can't help you with that.
Oh,
one,
what are they doing? Making property people who value property rights look
I didn't
crazy.
pick up on that as a kid
Right.
until later on. I was like, remember the guy? Like, he was always mad about dumb stuff,
Yeah.
but he was a big pink fuzzy hillbilly looking thing. And it's, get off of my property! Oh, I'm going to get mad! And it was just, it was really funny. But looking at it now, I can't always look at that stuff, and I'm always just like, I could turn that into a conspiracy.
I don't know anything about the Powerpuff Girls.
Well,
but
I've watched
they're no Squidbillies.
the Teen Titans Go with my kids.
Mhm.
You ever watch
Sure.
that?
I've
It's
seen it,
the
yeah.
It's kids.
it's like the funny version of the Teen Titans, which is comic book fare.
Mhm.
But those whoever wrote that show, it's like people like you and me writing a cartoon show.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a
Yeah.
lot of crazy.
Gumball's much worse if you've never
Yeah,
watched
I've
it.
seen that one too. Yeah, and I've actually seen some good episodes of Gumball where they actually teach some common sense in the middle of all that craziness.
Have you seen the one where Darwin becomes a dictator? But
Yeah.
all in the name of safety, when he's
Yeah.
got everybody
Yep.
walking around with Nerf and like.
Yeah, that
He
was,
gave
that
all
was
the
one of
police.
ones I really
He
liked
gave all the
about
police inflatable balloons for batons to hit people with. And
it.
stuff.
Yep.
In the Big Rock Candy Mountain.
Hey, what do you think? You were talking about Robert Johnson, and you got Tommy and the Oh Brother Where
Yeah,
Art
yeah,
Thou, basically playing that role in that movie just by a different name. When you sing the Big Rock Candy Mountain, you ever hear the story that is a song by hobos to entice boys to run away and
I can hear it.
jump into the train so they can bugger them on the way to California or wherever the train's going?
Get a little taste.
I told somebody I'd heard that, and I can't remember who it was. It was a woman I didn't know well, and I was talking to some of her friends, and telling the guys there about this story, and she just kind of lost her mind. Was like, "Don't tell me that! Don't tell me that!" And I was like, "Well, just look at the lyrics."
Dude, I can totally see it. Like, I mean, it's obviously glorifying the life of a hobo.
Yeah.
It makes me want to get a stick and tie a handkerchief.
Yeah,
It always kind of
Yeah,
seemed like it
really.
was sarcastic to me. Because
Yeah.
that part where it says, all the bulldogs all have rubber teeth and the hens lay hard-boiled eggs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what child would want to eat a hard-boiled egg?
Well, a hobo.
guess
But think about it, if you were a hobo, dude, you could snatch a hard-boiled egg out
Well,
of
that's where I think
hen's ass.
why I thought the song was
Hen's ass.
more sarcastic, because like the more you listen to that song, on the Big Rock Can't, it's like, it seems to me almost like hobo
all
music.
the jails are made of.
Kind of like, well, I mean, that's a good one. All the slave songs are strangely positive if you listen to those. So I mean, I can only imagine that hobos would write
Yeah,
some
but
pretty.
those slave songs be having secret messages.
Well, hobos don't need a secret
Message!
message,
Well,
though.
so maybe that is the secret message. Is
We need some more boys
we
to
need
diddle.
yes.
Maybe, I
In
don't
the
know.
Big Rock Candy Mountain.
Wait, I don't
It's your
want-
tight little bum.
I
Yeah.
mean, who wants to hear about Big Rock Candy? I mean, who are you going to sing to? You're going to sing to a grown man to entice him into
It all seems
going
very
to the Big
hobo-y
Rock
to
Candy
me.
Mountain?
Rock candy? Kids like rock candy? I wasn't alive
Well,
in the 20s,
back
so
in
I
the
don't know,
20s,
maybe.
It might have been delicious.
Yeah, well, it's the only candy you got.
They didn't have Butterfingers
You
back then.
you got fruit and nuts, and a little. You might have to get a couple of dried dates and a nut for Christmas.
Snatch a pie off a
for your
windowsill.
candy. Yeah, that'd be about all you
The
need.
churches would give you a grapefruit
I always
for
wanted to
Christmas or
I
an
always
orange
wanted
or
to snatch a
something.
pie
so-
off a windowsill, man.
But you didn't get candy much. So a rock
under-
candy,
okay.
Big Rock Candy Mountain, I could see that.
That's a
being,
big. You take your nickel into the store and you buy like a big. Okay, I can see that.
It kind of reminds me of
Oh, there's rock candy on them trains.
Pinocchio. Where they entice Pinocchio to go away to the island where all
Oh,
the
yeah.
boys are, and they're just
Pinocchio's
smoking.
a psychologist's nightmare
Yeah.
once you start
So
reading
long,
into
dude.
that book.
But they're doing all the fun stuff that boys, want to do, and of course they all learn about responsibility in the end,
Yeah.
or some of them do. The ones I think Pinocchio does, but
That's a
it's
wild movie.
kind of the same. I get the same feeling of it. He's enticed to go to that island in the same way that they entice you to go to the Big Rock Candy Mountain, where realistically it's somebody collecting those boys.
I don't want it to go there, but it does seem like almost everything does go back to human trafficking,
It does.
doesn't it?
Well, you got to think about the history of human. We can't go into human trafficking, man. Like it was the norm in the 1800s, dude, and now they got task force against it, man.
But it still goes on.
Understandably so. Don't get me wrong.
It still goes on around the world. It's just you have to do it in a certain way.
I think I read an article that said there are more slaves now
Yeah.
than ever before.
Oh yeah, where is it? Libya?
Well, Libya, the open air
Open,
slave
yeah,
market
open,
since
Pretty wild.
the State Department and the
Hillary
Obama,
Clinton's slave trade. That's
Hillary
what they call
Clinton and
it online.
Obama's fiasco over there. Yeah, that definitely left the place worse off than it was, and there are, at least there were, open air slave markets being run out of there.
Unless that was propaganda.
Could be.
Really doubt it.
They
though, 'cause
was,
it's-
they was trying to take
an
your attention off her
elaborate
pizza parlor.
Yeah, and I don't see how the that's going to benefit. You know, I could see more of the pizza parlor being milked to
the pizza guy.
yeah.
No, it wasn't a pizza
Don't
guy.
even, don't
Pizza
even
was-
say don't even say the name of that
All
particular
right.
thing. Because
How about this?
that's
How about
liable
we'll
to get our
call it?
video killed.
We'll call it. I don't believe. I hate Alex Jonesgate. How is that? Yeah.
Well, no, it's just the term. You can call it whatever you want. Except
Stromboli.
for,
I'm doubling down. I'm gonna call
we've
it.
already
I
said
hate
it,
Alex
but-
Jonesgate.
but okay, that works for me. But regardless, like one thing I actually looked into a little bit of that theory, and what they debunk is not what people are actually saying.
They debunked the restaurant.
They say, oh well, they say they debunk it by saying there was never a basement. Well, actually, it turns out there was, but
The Alamo, there's no basement in the Alamo.
but people weren't saying anything was going on in the basement of the pizza parlor anyway. The people who were actually doing research, I'm sure there were people who didn't know what they were talking about
Well,
that said there, but
that whole theory was one of the ones that kind of bothered me because I stay in the conspiracy world because I think it's funny. Because
it's
how
very
much it is.
entertaining.
But as soon as you start getting into some of those things, you're like, well, God, I'm already halfway down this rabbit hole. I got to see it through.
Gotta
But
see
I
what
wish,
it
I
is.
wish I hadn't,
Yeah.
just because I got to see how much is real at this point. But I really think a lot of that, when they raided Alex Jones's basement and proved that it wasn't real, I really think a lot of that was to kind of muddy the waters and give people some satisfaction because nobody wanted to believe that.
Well, I thought it was crazy though that the one guy who they remember the guy stormed in and said he was there to save the children, and he just fired one shot and happened to shoot the hard drive of the computer in the closet. Like, that's pretty fishy. That really happened. So if you want to look into that theory, look it up. But it's
They're gonna have to go off of YouTube. Is all
yeah,
I have to say.
the debunkings are not what people are actually saying in this case.
We can sit here and
they build a
talk
straw
about-
man argument and debunk
Yeah,
it. And-
we can talk about chemtrails and we can talk about Bigfoot. And there's lots of stuff that you can look into. That's one of the ones. If you're faint of heart, just don't.
Yeah.
Stay away from it.
Yeah.
Or if you got other shit to do, just don't. Because, man, you're going to get sucked.
Yeah, what are you gonna do about it? It's entertainment, I guess, for us. I mean,
Well, that's not really any entertainment. I
but-
like a lot of the other stuff.
But you know what I mean. It's like, what are you gonna do about it? Even if
Well, yeah. You own nothing.
even if you get
Start
to
a
the bottom
YouTube
of it.
channel, and this YouTube channel right here is going to take down the fucking Biden regime.
Come on, man. Come on, man. Don't talk about Papa Joe like that. That's my guy.
Creepy Uncle
No,
Joe.
so it's not. I'm not naive enough to think I'm ever going to. In case the CIA's even listening, I'm never going to do jack shit.
Never,
y'all.
ever.
But it is really entertaining for me to talk about a bunch of stuff. And if you
It's
do
fun.
lean on the entertainment
got to.
side, stay away from I hate Alex Jonesgate. So there you go.
There you
Well, we got way off the 2700 club,
Well,
didn't we?
not really.
The 2,700.
because
27 people each gave $27 to kill 27 celebrities.
well, not really though, because we were talking about coming back around to the human trafficking thing. There's a lot of that goes on. The Super Bowl is one of the biggest busts every year of human trafficking.
Because they bring in all the hoes for the
Yeah,
okay.
and there anytime you see a gathering of celebrities, you'll see a lot of that going on. And there's some who say a lot of these dancers and people who go throughout Hollywood kind of in back roles are human trafficked. So there's
The Black Dahlia, man. She was human trafficked, I think.
oh yeah,
I don't know. I just wanted to bring her
just
up.
wanted to bring her up. Yeah,
I mean, a lot of that's like murder fetishes.
well, there
What you
is a
wanna
lot
call it.
of ritual magic in.
She was
in,
passed around Hollywood
in
from
Hollywood.
what I've heard. Yeah, she was passed around Hollywood, and I don't know for sure that she was trafficked, but there was some fishy stuff going on.
Well, they say pretty much anybody. If you want to be in a movie, we're going to be on the casting couch. Whether
For sure.
whether you're a male or a female, those roles are so limited that you're going to have to.
You're gonna
be
show how
more-
bad you want that role.
Think how many actresses and actors there are. There's a lot of good talent out there. So that's how I think people separate themselves in a lot of cases.
Well, it just really shows you like how grimy Hollywood is because that's what you want.
Yeah.
Well, look at Weinstein and
Yeah. Well, of
that
course that's
guy.
what he wants. Like to bring back Moose brought up Bukowski. And we started talking about how he was a virgin for so long because he looked like a mountain troll.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Harvey Weinstein looks like, is a giant mountain ogre. Of course nobody was going to lay hands on him. But even with all that money, he had to...
He still
You watch
has
Curb Your
unfortunately.
Enthusiasm?
He had to get in the
Yes,
movies.
I haven't seen it in a while.
What is it?
I have been watching
Curb Your
Seinfeld
Enthusiasm.
again, though.
I know
Somebody
about it.
comes in and Jeff, his manager, somebody comes in and sees his manager, Jeff, and they're like, "How are you fucking friends?" And thinks he's Harvey Weinstein, and it's just like going off. And he's like, "No, it's not Harvey. It's not Harvey Weinstein." It's hilarious. Jeff's like, anyway.
But I think they were content to give us Harvey Weinstein and say, "Oh, that's as far as the problem goes," and that's kind of the whole problem
Just
with
this
the
one
whole
guy's.
Me Too thing. Is it didn't go far enough, and it kind of was, to me, it was a cover up of a lot of the actual stuff that's going on out
Harvey
there.
was a scapegoat.
Yeah,
I
exactly,
think,
exactly.
I think Epstein, on some level, even if he's even in jail or dead,
Even
is what I mean, he was probably a scapegoat. You gonna tell me they only got one sex island?
Yeah.
Well, he had several. He had the ranch out there in New Mexico, and he had the island there, right next to President Biden's brother's island there in Little St. James.
Coincident, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Read
But
the book.
They, he was connected to a lot of those folks, and right now the Ghislaine Maxwell trial.
I've always wondered how you pronounce her name.
It's actually, I think Helene.
I think it's Ghislaine, isn't it?
Ghislaine or Helene.
That's how Appalachian
Or
people
Ghislaine.
speak European.
Up here in the country.
Is she really from?
Gislin.
Is she from those places, or is she one of the
she's-
assholes that changed their name to sound more important?
Well, no, she's Robert Maxwell's daughter. He was what publication did he own? He was suspected to be a spy, and he had a big worldwide publication. In
and
the
his
70s,
daughter
and I
just
can't
happens
remember.
to end up being the secretary for one of the most prolific sex traffickers.
Well, I don't think she's his secretary. I think she's
He
the
was
boss.
assistant.
I think she's the boss.
Oh, okay.
She's
So you
running the
think-
show like those gun laws
Oh,
back in
okay.
like the 20s and 30s. There was always some woman that they called Ma that was running the whole thing.
Yeah.
That was her.
That
But-
keeps going back to these celebrities. And
To get back to the 27 Club, have you ever heard of the White Lighter?
I have heard the white
aspect
lighter.
of it?
It's bullshit.
I have a
though.
Oh, is
theory
it?
on that.
Okay.
It's bullshit. The reason it's bullshit was because Bic didn't make a white lighter until 1973. And Brian Jones was already dead, Hendrix was already dead, and Joplin was already
Okay,
dead.
so
and
the-
Jim Morrison was already dead.
So there's that debunked. If you've heard the white lighter theory that they all died carrying a white lighter, what they were colored plastic then, or they because now they're
Wasn't around,
because
though.
now they
They
make
prefer
them white, but then they have a
African-American
sticker
So the
on it.
rapper, that was my theory on it, of why the white lighter things always existed, because I've been around enough musicians to know we like to tear labels off stuff
Yeah,
for some
that's true.
reason.
Yeah.
And so that's the first thing.
Remember they say
do,
because you're
they rip that
sexually
thing off.
frustrated.
Is that what it is?
That always used to be why people say that you tore the label off your beer bottle because you're sexually frustrated.
Okay.
I wonder why I wad my napkin up.
Because you enjoy pooping.
Gotta be.
I'm,
Who doesn't really
I'm
though?
a psychology dropout. I'm saying it right here. You wad your napkins because you enjoy pooping.
Damn.
He's exposed, y'all. No.
I do enjoy pooping.
It's great.
Just ask my family.
Well, if you had like IBS or something, you might not.
That's
well,
true.
Like, which is.
What if you're like
Like,
impacted?
IBS
You're
rabbit hole.
impacted, and
I don't have IBS before we start
He
that
does.
rumor.
I saw the medicine in his car. My friend Tot had IBS, man. His name was Tot in my neighborhood. Easy for him to spell. Same frontwards and backwards. It's palindrome, like race car.
Taco cat.
Taco Cat's my favorite one.
How was that a palindrome though? Doesn't it have to be a real word to be a palindrome?
Are you trying to say Taco Cat's not a real word?
I guess it is now because they do put new stuff in the dictionary all the time. They used to say, well, this word is not a word because it's not in the dictionary. But now that dictionaries are online, they add
Yeah, it's pretty.
new
That was always
definitions
a
to them
pretty
all the time.
stupid rule to begin with.
Yeah, I
Language
agree.
evolves.
You know, if you use it, then it's a word. If people understand what it means, then it's a word.
True that.
But what is a taco cat?
Maybe that should be your next episode. On the next episode of the Iron Mountain Hour.
Cat dogs.
You ready for a really stupid theory?
Always.
I'm sorry.
Please.
This is going to get better than the last one. What if we only don't eat animals after we've eaten them so long that we become a part of them, because you are what you eat, and the reason we don't eat dog anymore is because we were like eating dog like crazy, and pretty soon we will no longer eat cow because we're going to start mooing. That was an intermission break. I don't expect a real answer out of that.
Yeah, I'm not even sure where to start.
So,
Dog's got personality.
just move on.
Well, pigs do too, but we don't usually
Had to be
live-
one charming
yeah.
motherfucking pig.
Yeah, his charm has to outweigh the flavor of his bacon.
Yeah, bacon tastes good.
Well, pig in
Pork
the wild
chops
ain't
taste
so
good.
charming at all.
That's true. That's true. Domesticated pig's a whole different animal. Just because they're smart doesn't mean they are
Yeah.
necessarily friendly.
It had to be one charming motherfucking pig. Had to be a hell of a lot more charming than that Arnold on Green Acres. Sorry.
What? 27. I
Pulp
keep
Fiction.
wanting to call it. You got to name the episode 27.
The 2700 Club.
Yeah.
Or don't. Really
Whatever.
F with the algorithm, wasn't it? Like we're playing the algorithm.
Ladies and gentlemen,
What do you think-
Milligram.
Have you ever done? Because I haven't done this. This just now hit me. Is there maybe just an equation you could use to figure out if celebrities dying at 27, if there's just not that? I mean, I know a Hendrix and a Jimi Hendrix or a Cobain and that stuff's way more noticeable, but how many people die at 27?
You know what? I actually did see an algorithm that was taken or put together, and they used. I think they did it very specifically. It was like British musicians who have been in the top 40, and there was really nothing to it from what they. I wish I could tell you, the ins and outs of it.
Oh, I meant
but-
to ask you about Keith Moon. Was he 27?
Keith Moon. I don't think he was 27.
Because you mentioned drowning in the pool, Brian Jones, and I couldn't help but think of Keith Moon driving his Cadillac into the swimming
Yeah,
pool.
right. I'm about to tell you that.
Yeah, I think I was in
Grandpa-
New York City, and he drove his car into and parked it in the swimming pool of his hotel.
Well, is this
Maybe
not
it's
a
a
reasonable
Rolls-Royce.
place to park?
Is what's his name?
Keith Moon was 32, homie.
32.
Okay.
Stevie Ray Vaughan. How old was he?
And
I'm just asking.
He
I know
was
he's not
older.
27.
I'm thinking he was in his early 40s or
And,
late 30s.
What about the original singer for Skinner?
He was definitely. Well, I don't know about how old he was.
I think he was
I feel like he was older though.
What about the first singer for AC/DC?
Stevie
Bon
Ray
Scott
was
might have been
35.
27.
Bon Scott.
I don't think he was.
I'm just gonna start naming dead
Bon
musicians.
Scott. Well, we're naming it. That's a good way to debunk it. Is see how many we got, because I think there's a lot of musicians who are going to die in their early to late, early 20s to late to early 30s, just because of the lifestyle of being
Yeah,
a
I was
musician.
thinking
That's
too.
where I was gonna go with it, man. That's really like
I don't know. Nikki Sixx died like 3 times in one
Right.
year.
what. Okay, what were you like when you were 27? Did you really give a shit about
Bon
what you
was
put in your
34.
body,
Yes.
or were you careful with your? I don't know this guy. It's the first time I've ever met him. We're chopping it up here. I know when I was 27. I got to think back to when I was 27, and when I was 27, I turned 27 in February of. I'm not gonna say the year because I'm old as shit. So I turned 27 in February, and then I started started playing with this punk band. I lived in Nashville, and April of that year we started this punk band called Vacant Hero, and that was like the ongoing joke. I was the only one that was 27. I was like a couple of years older than the other fellas, and that was like the ongoing joke. And I was the only one that partied heavy.
And
too.
you're a very talented guitar player too.
Crazy guy, you. Thank you very much. But so that was like kind of the ongoing joke, because I was like blowing rails in my car and drinking beers and whatever, and those other cats, like one of them was like super Christian, and he ended up quitting the band. But anyway, like another guy was just like a pervert, and
Probably the Christian. No, I'm playing.
yeah, dude. No, this guy, man, that was like, so he started playing with us, and he was, I guess, because I was more like in the frontman capacity. I sang and played guitar. Watch this.
Getting some laughs. There we go. Now we're straightened out.
So I sang too, and so the other guitar player, I don't know if he would have been in the league, whatever. I'm driving down the road one day, and I see him dressed up as Jesus on the side of the road, and he's like trying to wave people into this church. And I'm like, I'm playing a punk band with this guy. Like, what the hell? And there's a video that's actually it's online of us. We had a pretty big gig, and I was like, how many people out there love Satan? Just being silly, because that's what I do. And he, like, creeps up to his mic, and he's like, Jesus is just all right with me.
That was a pretty good way to handle that.
Yeah, it really was. But it wasn't too long after that he quit the band. But anyway, I was 27, and that was kind of the ongoing joke. Was like, bro, if you're gonna die, hurry up and die, you know, so that we can get famous. We can
Boost
carry
our
on
band
here.
off of your name. When
Yeah,
you die at
exactly.
27, yeah.
I was like, but nobody knows who the hell I am. What does it matter if I die? I mean, people die every day and don't get famous. So.
Yeah, nobody cares if you don't.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they're gonna find our MySpace page because I died. So yeah, that was fun. But that was a fun band to be in. Enough about that. How's it going?
Well, good, man. But you were telling me a little bit earlier about some kind of we wanted to also get into the opioid crisis in Tennessee in this episode.
Yeah.
And this relates to you personally. And a lot of people we know. I mean, everybody around here, I mean, knows somebody who's got strung out on dope at some point. And if you know, most people probably know a good number of people that they went to school with
that have died.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, and still, like, I'm having people. I lost a really close friend, guy that I was buddies with since middle school. Just died 2 months ago. Big up Jim Ed Martin. Passed away just a couple of months ago. Now, okay, when I was younger, in the '90s, back in the '90s. We did opioids. We didn't know they were called opioids.
back in my day.
We took pain pills, man. Like, every once in a while, somebody would steal their dad's Lortabs, and we'd go out and have a good time, chew them, crunch them up, and that
Look,
was
we're
it.
hanging out with Lori and Tabitha tonight.
right, and you'd be stoked about it. I remember one time a friend of mine had a bottle of liquid Lortab, and we were rolling around with this bottle and a spoon, selling spoonfuls for like $4, man. And all these people use the same spoon. There were probably so many diseases like communicated that night. But anyway, really, man, it wasn't with the birth until like OxyContin and the hardcore shit came out that you saw as many. Heroin's always been around.
Yeah.
But
nobody wants to just go out and do heroin.
right, I would hesitate to call it a niche market.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
It's not really something
that,
trailer park people have access
yeah,
to.
I didn't see it growing up.
People kind of go out and look for it after they get strung out on pills.
Exactly.
And then
See, I didn't have to look for it. That was my problem. See, I enjoyed taking Lortabs and stuff, and the occasional Xanax. Like just party. Well, I got health insurance for the first time as an adult when I was in my mid-20s, and I go see this doctor. I was living in Nashville. I go see this doctor and start complaining about. I thought I'd give him a try. I start complaining about having panic attacks, which I've had panic attacks since I was a little kid. He's like, "Have you ever taken anything for him?" I was like, "Yeah, Xanax." He writes me a prescription, and I'm like, "Let's see what else we can do with this, right?" So I was like, well, I've got this foot that I broke, and I did. I broke my left foot skateboarding when I was a kid, and I took the cast off, and it healed back, like the bones healed back like this instead of like this. It bothers me all the time. I'm like, yeah, it bothers me. So he writes me a prescription for tramadol, which is not quite a narcotic, but it's a
prescription painkiller.
It's a pretty groovy painkiller, but I'm not, endorsing this. So I came back to him like a week later, and he asked me how everything was working, and I conned him into upping the dose on the Xanax and switching me from tramadol to Lortab, hydrocodone. So then over the next few years, man, I just got my... And I'm thinking, what a cool doctor. But now I'm looking back, and I'm like, what a dick. Because like over the next few years, man, I just got my prescription bumped up to where I was taking my prescription was I got 115 milligram oxycodones a month. The Roxy 15s as they're colloquial known. And I would go through them in about 4 days, right? And this isn't selling them, this isn't
Just doing
I might,
Wow.
go to a friend's house and do one with them or whatever, but that would be in the first couple of days I got the script. Once I got down to the second 50, you weren't touching them, bro. So yeah, about 4 or 5 days, I would go through them and be back out looking for pills, right? And the same with Xanax. I was on Xanax, and coming off Xanax, man, is like, which is not an opioid, it's a benzo, but at the same time, it's out there. Xanax can kill you coming off of it. It can throw your body into seizures. Xanax or benzos, so that would be Xanax, clonazepam, Valium, Ativan. They will cut if you cold turkey off of them. They will throw you into seizures and kill you. Same as alcohol. These old drunks that get the shakes and stuff. They're right there with those. And coming off of that was really tough. But anyway. So my doctor calls me in for a pill count and a drug test. And she tells me, okay, not only do you need to bring your drugs in, you need to bring your mom's drugs in. See, you guys don't know this, I take care of my mom. She has Parkinson's disease. And I'm her only caregiver. That's my 24-hour day job is taking care of my mom. She's in a wheelchair. I pick her up, put her in a wheelchair, get her dressed. I give her showers. I clean her bottom when she has an accident. I mean, that's pretty much what I do. But so the doctor, my mom and I had the same doctor, our primary care doctor. She says, you need to bring your mom's medication and your medication. And I'm like, yeah, I don't feel comfortable. I guess she says I'm responsible for mom's meds. And I was doing all mom's meds, no. I'll be honest with you. Mom was getting 240 10 milligram oxycodones, and out of those 240, I'm probably doing 150 of them and giving her like one a day, because I was an addict. I still am an addict. I'll always be an addict. But so I go in, and I had run out of Xanax and taken a couple of my mom's Klonopins just to stay, not get sick. And it was refill time, and I go in, and my doctor says, well, you didn't bring in your mom's meds like I told you to. And also you had Klonopin in your urine. So you're non-compliant. You're cut off. She gave me 30 days worth of both my medications and just totally 100% cut me off. Which is really unethical with benzos. Pain pills will make you sick coming off of them, and they'll make you wish you were dead. Benzos will actually kill you.
She should have put you on a step down or something from
She
then.
should. But you know what, man? If I look back at it, it wouldn't have changed.
You would have just taken advantage of it.
I would have,
yeah.
exactly. I would have done them all and been in the same place. So they cut me off, and now all of a sudden, a legitimate prescription becomes an illicit addiction, man. And my days were spent doing drugs or looking for drugs, and all my money, every month I was, my bank account was overdrawn. I remember I once got a title loan on my car so I could buy $250 worth of Subutex. It was bad, man. I never used a needle though. But the way that I started on heroin is the way that everybody now starts on heroin. Is I had a girl that was getting pain meds for me, and she was a heroin addict. She was a needle junkie, and one day she's like, "Yeah, I can't get that, but I can get this." And I've seen that played out in so many different movies and TV. Can't get that, but I can get this. This is better and this is cheaper. So I gave it a shot, and boy, that's all it took. But then I'll tell you, I feel really bad. I have a cousin that I used to get pain meds for, and he's a very successful. At the time, he was living in like a 6,000 square foot lake house, and 5 cars, and just living it up. And he had a wife and a family who didn't know that he was an addict, and I was getting dope for him. Well, I turned him on to some heroin one day, and that's all she wrote. But he was buying he had a lot of money. I'm sure he still does, but as far as I know, he's clean now. But he would buy a gram. He would send me to go get him a gram of heroin, which would cost around, in any other city it's $100. Around here it's around $300. And he would tell me to take 3/10 of it, and for myself. So I was getting mine for free. So that was awesome. And then one day I woke up shitting my pants because I didn't have any dope, and went to the methadone clinic, man. And a lot of people will tell you that you're just trading. A lot of people call it liquid handcuffs. You're just trading one addiction for another. It really has changed my life. Rather than spending my whole day doing dope, thinking about dope, or looking for dope, I can get up in the morning and take a dose of medication. I see a drug counselor every week. I've gained weight. That's really the only complaint that I've got. I gained weight, and I don't poop like I should. We're gonna
Try
get back
some
to the
kombucha and yogurt, man. I'm telling you.
Bro, I've tried it all. The funniest thing, I heard Jason Mewes, which opioids constipate you anyway. I heard Jason Mewes, Jay from the Jay and Silent Bob stuff. I heard an interview with him, and he was talking about, he was like, on heroin you only shit once a week, and you shit a baseball. And it's true, man. It's like a big drive, it's horrible. And Muse is like, you're hanging off of the towel bar and screaming, and not to get too graphic, but that's more like a Pringles can. Okay, enough about that. You can research that, folks.
Yeah, if you're interested in the pooping patterns. But you talk about the methadone clinic being kind of what helped you get past that and get it from being and something that you do every day to where you can get back to a normal life. I've actually had another close friend that I grew up with who also had a similar issue and also benefited greatly from methadone. And if you remember several years ago, I think it was in the Gray community, they were talking about moving in the methadone.
That's where
clinic.
I go.
And
over Mountain Recovery.
Okay, the people who live there, and I can kind of
now it's so quiet. Like they've had no problems over there.
Well, I can see where they're scared of it because one, you see a lot of times drug addicts. I've always been in favor of legalization of drugs and said, the main problem is when they commit crimes to get the drugs. That's where it really hurts the society. So
doing the drugs, you're hurting yourself.
Yeah, exactly. But when you run out of drugs,
you should have the right to hurt yourself.
Because of the prohibition of drugs, that's what makes the price so high. More than the actual manufacture and distribution of the product. It's more the regulation.
There's safety and quality control on the black market.
Right.
So it's the same way with, like, what was it, Jake Leg and all that stuff back in Prohibition days,
exactly.
where they weren't making the liquor correctly, so it was poisoning
people. Make you go blind and
yeah. So it's all kind of, so anytime.
Well, and now you've got fentanyl going into. That's another one I forgot to look at.
They're cutting heroin with the fentanyl,
which is
right?
FDA approved.
They're
by the
cutting
way.
everything.
They're both FDA approved. So
they're making fake Percocets and putting fentanyl in it. They're cutting cocaine with fentanyl because apparently it's cheap. That Mac Miller, that rapper.
Mac Miller and Tom Petty both.
Yeah, died from that shit. Mac Miller was
Tom
20.
Petty did?
Tom Petty allegedly.
I think Mac Miller was
if you consider
26.
Tom Petty,
Prince died. Prince as well.
Yeah.
So
well,
I'm trying to get fresh with you.
You've got these old rockers like Tom Petty. He was doing actual heroin.
Right.
And the story, according to what I've read or whatever, however I got that piece of information, the story was this was his going away tour, and he was just looking for a little something to get him through the tour because he was in a lot of pain and had no idea that heroin wasn't the same as it was now.
He was probably, I wonder about Tom Petty. He was probably a functional addict for 40 years. And I know people like that that can take their medicine every day and be fine with it. But
here's a weird question. I guess since it's a dumb question. No, it's not a dumb question. I'm going to take it back. I think it's actually a good question.
There are no dumb questions, man.
I can think of something. Do you think, because you said drug legalization, I guess we're going to find out how that pans out in Oregon if Oregon ever gets back to normal. Do you think it would be easier? Let me preface this. Nikki Sixx died a bunch of times and kept coming back. Tom Petty, Mac Miller, all these people probably wouldn't have died on heroin. And it's when you start getting, it's the fentanyl that's killing them. You brought up tramadol originally. Tramadol is one of the very early phases of fentanyl because tramadol's not even,
right?
it's not even real. It was made in the 50s in Germany or something like that. It's a synthetic opioid. It
Okay.
binds, kind of. And that's why it's so weak. But over the years, they've been working on these synthetic molecules like they're curing cancer, and they've got it so fine. I guess you've seen the meme. I don't know if this is true or not because I've never had firsthand handling with fentanyl. But you seen where it's like the size of the needle point or whatever.
Like
it's
2 grains of
this
salt
much
or
heroin
something like
is enough to this much or whatever. And that really is what they're doing. Would it be better just to legalize heroin? Do you think?
Well, there are a lot of countries out there that, I know like Switzerland and a lot of places in the Netherlands, if you're an addict, the government will give you heroin.
See, I know I'm not for a lot of government programs, but I haven't had an idea of, you could probably replace a lot of the police department with free drugs for addicts. I mean, you'd still have to have, for crimes of passion and robberies and things, you'd have to have some sort of police, unless you wanted, vigilante justice all the time. But
America's lost the war on drugs, man.
yeah, I think anything
it's time
America,
to adapt.
Yeah,
Well,
I
it never
agree.
was a war. It was more like a black ops
Well,
sort of thing where they were like, how about we pinch off this revenue stream so daddy can make that money
And there's certain
instead,
ways, if it's kind of like they're the most powerful gang, and they're basically muscling out their competitors for people like Purdue Pharma, who produce OxyContin. They, were convicted in court of dishonestly and whatever it was, fraudulently promoting it, and they had to pay $2 billion. Well, that's pretty much just like the gang, the mob shaking you down. You give them their cut, and then you go about your business. Now, you were telling me about a show.
Yeah, there's a show on Hulu. It's called Dope Sick, and like he and I were talking about Michael Keaton. Need I say more? Michael Keaton plays this doctor in Southwest Virginia that, and it's set like around here, that is one of the first doctors that the pharmaceutical reps talk into prescribing OxyContin for moderate pain. And even in the beginning, he's like, yeah, I don't prescribe opioids for moderate pain. But the FDA had apparently let them label OxyContin as being less addictive. Not non-addictive, but less addictive because of its tamper-proof time release, which
people just busted it open and
snorted
it.
Yeah, or they would lick the time release off,
Yeah.
or what. I never did OxyContin, man. I was taking my Lortab prescription back then and talking about these oxy junkies, blah blah blah, but. I don't understand that because now, like, what you get is just straight oxycodone immediate release.
Well, I think if you look at that show, kind of puts it in perspective a little bit, because a lot of the people, especially in this area, and you look at somebody even like a Rush Limbaugh, who is a kind of a famous case of it, their doctor gave it legitimacy. The FDA gave it legitimacy. They felt like they were doing something that was safe, that was going to help
Elvis Aaron
with their
Presley,
pain.
bro.
Yeah. I mean, they got it from their doctors. They felt like they were now. A lot of these people that became addicted to, now maybe you being, in your mid-20s and you were partying, maybe you would have sought them out elsewhere. But a lot of these people were, working people in their 30s, 40s, 50s who hurt themselves and got prescribed this by their doctor and were told they were safe and less addictive and that they could take them to deal with their pain, and then ended up junkies on them. So I think that would be, you look at our system of regulation and prescription, those people would not have gone out to the drugstore and bought some heroin in the drugstore to party on. They thought they did these things because their doctors told them it was okay. So
dude, you gotta watch Dope Sick, man, because what you're spitting is the show.
Do they go into the Sacklers at all?
Oh yeah. Yeah, the Sacklers are a big part of it, and Dr. Richard Sackler was the head of Purdue Pharma at the time, and he is a big character in the show. And
I don't think putting their donated artwork on the side of the road is enough. I think they need to. I don't know. They seem pretty rich. Maybe we should eat them. No, I'm like, I'm okay if they eat those rich people.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. Because they ate everybody else.
And they showed no remorse. They paid their $2 billion and they went right back to doing it.
Yeah, and that is illustrated in this. Michael Keaton, as the doctor, becomes an addict. He gets into a car accident, and they're making a big deal about individualized dosing with OxyContin, because first it was just a 10 milligram pill that you took. So Michael Keaton, as a doctor, has a car wreck in another town and goes to an emergency room, and they give him 20 milligram, and he's like, why are you giving me 20 milligram? He's like, well, it's called individualized dosing. And you see, like, the pharma reps, like, making up the word individualized, breakthrough pain. You just double your dose.
Let me tell you, too, I've had Percocets and Lortabs when I've had teeth pulled and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, dude, a 10 milligram Percocet, I cannot take the whole thing. It will make me throw up. So it's not like, that you have to take a whole lot of these things.
Right.
And to give somebody who's new to opiates a 20 milligram oxycodone, that's a lot for somebody to take. And so they start taking one of those every day. Pretty soon your body builds a tolerance to that, and you can operate and function on that.
Yeah.
And then you need more than that to be able to take care of your pain. So that,
the DJ,
yeah.
Avicii,
Yeah.
he died, and he had a song called "Diminishing Returns." So there you go. There's our full
Dun,
circle.
dun, dun, dun. Yeah, I was at the time when I first started getting addicted to opioids. I was working for a large cable company that nobody liked. Rhymes with Promcast, as a customer service rep in the call center, right? And me and a very, very, very good friend of mine. I don't think you would mind me saying his name. It's J.D. Myers. He's a country singer. He's amazing. You should check him out. J.D. Myers. He's on YouTube. He's everywhere. But anyway, he and I were both functioning addicts at the time, so we would be sitting right across from each other in a call center like this, talking shit to people. Man, we would get so high. He brought in a big bottle of liquid Lortab one time, right? And we were mixing it with Dr. Pepper. Just sitting there taking our calls and sipping on this
a cocktail.
Well, he said, call me, man, call me. I'm going to conference you in on this call. So I call him up, and he conferences me on the call. He was an internet a support agent. So somebody calls in to get their internet supported, and he transfers them to the City of Gallatin Power and Water Company and gets them on the line and conferences me in just so I can hear it. And he's got the customer on there. And, we were both high as pterodactyl vagina, like, just rolling, dude. Like, it was great. I'm not going to lie, man. Opioids are great, but they will fuck your life up because they're illegal.
Well, I mean, they're... For people partying and stuff, they do sometimes turn into addicts. That does sometimes happen. But I think
if you need them, you should be able to get them.
Yeah,
sure.
And that's what I was going to get back around to is now it's almost like there's a lot of doctors who are so, I mean, they have it right on the walls, no opioids. So they're so resistant to prescribing them that they don't give them to a lot of people that need them. Now, this was a long time ago, but I remember being, I was doing clinicals for an orthopedic surgeon. And when I was in the office, a man came in. He had cut his knee in half, like right at the joint with a chainsaw 2 weeks before, and had surgery, and said his knee was hurting. And the doctor's like, "I'll take some ibuprofen." And was like, when he left, the doc was like, "He's just wanting more." We're just wanting more pills.
I'd say so.
Like,
I'd say his kneecap. I'd say it's probably still tender, bro.
You're a shizzle.
Yeah, but you run into that a lot with I see like dentists will still tend to prescribe. Because I don't know, maybe I just don't give off the vibe of somebody drug seeking or something. I've never had them. If I have a teeth pulled, they've always given me, a Lortab or a Percocet prescription. And
I'm sure it's probably in my jacket by now. I don't get anything.
But there's a lot of doctors who refuse to prescribe under any situation.
Especially now they're very gun shy.
Well, I broke my foot. I was saying earlier, man, I broke my foot last summer and, sat around with this broken foot, like writhing in agony for a month before I found out it was actually broken. And the orthopedist finally put a boot on it and told me it was broken. She was like, just take Tylenol for pain. And I was like, really?
Yeah.
You think I could maybe get something a little strong? And this wasn't the addict in me reaching out for something
this
stronger.
really
This was
hurting.
like, you think you can maybe give me something a little bit stronger? And she gave me 8 Lortab 7.5s for a broken foot.
Yeah,
like that's just
it's not going to last you long, especially with it being as you've built up a tolerance over the years.
My lady friend, my best friend in the world, Allie, she was making fun of me. She was like, "Those will be gone before you get out of the parking lot." And I was like, "No, I'm going to do them responsibly." And I did, man. I was on methadone at the time, but I made those 8 last me like 3 days, which is...
That's how long they were probably supposed to last.
Yeah, I would have had them crushed, dude. 2 years ago, I'd have had them crushed up and put in lines and snorted before I got out of the parking lot, just like she said, man. But, you know, anyway, hey.
Well, I'm glad that the methadone has helped you. You do seem to be in a really good place. And again, I have another friend who that really helped, and we were talking back about the place in Gray that you said you go to. That was a big controversy at the time. Everybody said not in my backyard.
They had signs up.
Yeah,
and
they were afraid of addicts, coming and breaking in their house. But realistically, you're only going to have people going to the methadone clinic who A, want help, or B, are court ordered to.
Right.
So either way, they have a big incentive in not breaking into your house.
I don't even know that the court orders people
Don't they?
to go there. I don't.
Oh.
Well, see, from what I've seen, the court will order you to go to like Magnolia Ridge, which is a place where I detoxed. Magnolia Ridge.
That's a good place for.
Johnson
I've seen
City.
that help people too.
I didn't stay there for the full 28 days because the 12-step thing didn't work for me, man. It didn't work for me. It doesn't work for a lot of people. That's why there is like medication assisted recovery with either like Suboxone or Subutex or.
Did you consider Suboxone, or did you just go straight?
The Suboxone is just abused by everybody that I know, man, and I know. I think now I would do well on it, but I know that then had I gone and walked out with a bottle of Suboxone, I would have been snorting it.
My wife's a pharmacist. She said the biggest issue with the Suboxone is you've got these big factors. One is human will to just not be an addict, not to abuse this thing that they just gave you.
Right.
And the other one is doctors don't step people down. Like a lot of pharmacies are hesitant about bringing in Suboxone people because of how demanding Suboxone people can be. They want to hold you on the phone for 3 hours and ask you all kinds of crazy stuff. But one of the biggest problems they had is the doctors just will not step them down. They'll get you what your dose, and then you're just there for indefinitely.
Yeah, I mean, it can be the same with methadone, man. Like, I have to watch my own dose. Like, I take 65 milligrams a day. Legally in Tennessee, you can take up to 120. And I think they started me out at 35. Because, man, I had kicked heroin before I went to the methadone clinic. Mm-hmm. I kicked heroin and I kicked benzos at Magnolia Ridge.
Which was harder?
Benzos,
just kicking at the same time?
Yeah, but the benzos for sure. Yeah. But when I came out, I was like, as long as I don't do heroin, I just these pain pills, I'll be fine. And then, I was back to where I was at. I didn't do heroin after that, but I was back to where and I was telling my mom, I was like, yeah, I'm fucked up and got addicted again. And that's when I ended up going to the methadone clinic. But I guess because I was more of a pill junkie, they started me out at a lower dose, like 30, 35 milligrams rather than 80 that somebody comes in with like syringes hanging out of their neck and shit. Right. They probably start out. But if you feel like you want to go up, if you like you want to up your dose, you just ask them and they'll be like, are you having withdrawal symptoms, this, that, the other. If you think you're ready to step down, you tell them. But I think it's all up to you. Unless you keep fucking up. I think if you keep fucking up, they would probably step you down and give you the boot. Yeah. But
you think it's something... I mean, I kind of feel a certain way about it. Do you think for most people going into those sorts of situations, this sort of life sentence, you're just finding a path of least resistance? I'm tired of going to find this stuff. I'd rather just the government give it to me.
And see, that's how I feel like we'd be better off is, okay, if you really want to do drugs, you have to go to the government and ask for them. That's of course, people will still abuse that and party that, but it'd be, I don't think possession should be the crime, because that just fills up our jails. It puts people in jail at a young age when they get caught with drugs, and then they learn, they're pretty much screwed once you get a drug felony when you're in the early age.
Dude.
See, I almost got one when I was 19. I didn't know what the hell was going on, and I feel like the police almost
Dude,
entrapped me.
I had a pot misdemeanor that screwed up my life for a long time. But
Yeah. I mean, it was I wasn't some drug dealer or anything like that. I just happened to know where to get something.
Right.
And so I got something for a friend who was in trouble, and I didn't know about it.
Oh,
and
no.
then I ended up in trouble too, and I ended up having to do 6 years of probation and pay the state thousands of dollars.
I'm in the middle of a 10-year probation.
And it was,
right now.
but they went after me as a young person, knowing they knew that I was no kingpin
Right.
or even a dealer. They knew that, and they went after me regardless. Hopefully, I guess, because they were hoping I would turn over my friend, who was also not a drug dealer. He just happened to know where to get it.
Yeah.
So, it was like instead of going after people who were actually distributing this in the community, they were going after
The middlemen.
and I never would have gotten it for them if they hadn't called me up and asked me.
You weren't
And-
pushing.
No, no.
Hey,
Yeah.
man, do you need some whatever? Yeah.
No, I had to call somebody up and ask them. But they still felt like I was a good
It's more like
target to
they
go
asked you
after.
for it, and you're like, I'll see what I can
Yeah,
do. I'll
yeah.
see if I can help you out.
Well, no, I
man.
knew I could help it out, but
Right.
I was just, I was 19 and I was naive and
Right.
thought I was just helping out a buddy, and that
But
was the
you
way
were
I
being
looked at
set
it.
up, man. That's gnarly.
Yeah, and so I ended up having to do probation for 6 years, and I got my record expunged.
That's good.
So I didn't actually get a felony from it. The judge, definitely recognized what was happening, and go ahead and let me plead out to judicial diversion. So I didn't
got
have to.
lucky.
Yeah,
For sure
that doesn't
got
happen to
lucky.
most people.
Just a casualty of the war on drugs.
Not even to mention I mean, I think I paid about $10,000 to the state. I also had to pay about $10,000 for a good lawyer.
Yeah, that's what I paid for my lawyer.
so-
10, yeah.
So the legal system, basically, I'm going to go ahead and say it. They entrapped me because I would not have done it if they had not called me up.
I think that's entrapment for sure.
But
Well, who called you?
my friend who he showed up with an agent with him.
So what they're trying to say is because your friend was the one that called, that it's legally not entrapment because he wasn't a cop.
Yeah.
I think that
That's-
probably doesn't apply anymore.
I'm sure that's how
in
they
this
were doing
modern
it.
day and age.
But that's a real common story because this same person that got me, they got several other people that I went to school with who I also knew were not drug dealers. They
Right.
were just kids who either liked to party or thought it was cool to help out somebody who liked
Right,
to
yeah,
party.
yeah. They felt like a big shot.
Yeah,
Who
because
was the
they
sheriff
were,
at the time?
I don't remember who the sheriff was, but this was under the first judicial task force, the first district drug task force. So it was feds, locals, and states all working together. And I don't know that they ever nabbed anybody big from this. They nabbed a bunch of kids and got a bunch of money from them and turned some of them into career criminals, unfortunately,
Sure.
and career addicts too. So
Some people didn't have that 10K to get a good lawyer.
and I was lucky enough to find one who would let me make payments to him.
Yeah.
But I was working a regular job, and I had some money saved. I was
The kids that went with the public pretender, they probably
Yeah, and I sat in jail for a while because I didn't go with the public defender. I felt like they were trying to teach me a lesson by you're a hoity-toity going to
teach
hire
us.
a
Oh,
lawyer.
you gonna hire
you don't
a lawyer,
you don't
huh?
want the court defended lawyer. All right, well we'll set your bond for $100,000 and let me sit in jail
been there.
till I was lucky enough for people to who knew me to put up their property.
Seems
So I
like
could
there
Dude,
should
sell.
that's exactly what. Dude, I'm right there with you. People put their property up to get me
It
out,
really
too.
seems like there should be something, and I'm not anti-law. I'm not defunding the police. I definitely think they should maybe stop earning the fucking hate. But don't you there's got to be some kind of way they could manipulate the legal system to make it to where you can't be passive aggressive towards someone. Like they only made your bond that high because you wanted to use.
Well,
somebody
I
get what I'm
can't
saying?
prove that,
But they can do stuff like
Yeah,
that.
they can.
I've seen them on what is the auditors on YouTube.
I was just lucky the judge who I originally have bound me over to a different judge. Because if
Yeah.
I'd had that judge that I first went before,
screwed.
yeah.
Dude, I'm the same way. Like they set my bond at $150K, and I sat in jail until somebody put their property up for me. But yeah, I got bound over to a different judge too, and that was a lucky thing.
But luckily that happened early enough in my life to where I was able to overcome it and still,
Bro, I was 30.
still,
I was,
get through and set myself up
31.
and build a career and build a life. But that would have got in the way of a lot of people, especially.
yeah.
I really think
yeah.
there should be you can't honey dick somebody before they're 21
Yeah.
law. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. I mean, I can't
Was
even go.
it-
I couldn't even drink alcohol at the time. You know,
I think
but it's
California
okay to put me in jail.
has crafted a law against. It's either against excessive bond amounts or against cash bond amounts in general.
Well, if
I
I'm
don't
not
know
mistaken,
what
it's the Seventh Amendment, you know, that prohibits, you know, having too high of a bond, or you know, but you know that's kind of something that's been in the news a lot lately, especially you know with everything last year they were doing cash bail reform, and I do think there needs to be some reform in cases, for example, like mine, or there's a lot of cases other than that where people get crazy high bonds for nonviolent offenses and sit in jail, and then they lose their job. You know, I was lucky enough to not do that, but they lose their job, they get their car repoed, they get kicked out of their apartment because they've got a $100,000 bond and they don't have anybody to sign
their
over the
pet
property.
dies. Like, what if you got a cat,
Yeah.
man?
If the cops don't shoot them whenever they come to arrest, no, sorry.
You ever think of like how absurd that even is? That because, and this is where I get all tickled in my liver. I don't know how to like even wrap my head around this. How absurd this is that we're all okay with this. You put a price like on the crime.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because they're gonna do it like, oh, money represents energy, but like you're pretty much just setting up a precedent to where if you're rich enough, everything's legal.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
You know what I'm
and yeah, that's pretty much it. And it's like okay, if you've got a violent crime that you're offended of and accused of, and there's a preponderance of evidence to show that you likely did in fact commit that crime, I can see setting a high bond on that case. But say even somebody like, let's look at the Kyle Rittenhouse case up in Wisconsin. They set his bond at $2 million, and he was found not guilty. So why did he have to sit in jail for however long he did?
Bond in general, man, it's like you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty.
And they had all the evidence.
I think you have to use different.
They had all the
I would only
evidence
say
all
you
along.
need to use that one, a different one, because you know that was what do you say, political
Yeah,
appeasement.
it was.
So when
but
it's not
for
such a
sure.
high level, a high lofty
a high
one,
profile.
I guess one you could use, one people could understand, is like the large amount of people doing 20 to 25 years for selling drugs.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, and there's a big difference between you caught this guy selling meth to a kindergartner or something crazy, but it's usually like just some college guy who got caught with way too much supply at that point in time.
Yeah.
And that dude wasn't a menace. He
Well,
was
there-
going
there-
to
like,
time,
there
and now
was
he's
a-
going to prison.
There's a guy I know who was he hung out with me and my friends in high school, and he was really smart. I think he had a 4.0 grade point average, had like a 30 plus ACT score. He was in college. I forget what he was going for, but he ended up making LSD, and because he was a smart guy, he got into that kind of thing and got caught like driving around with a LSD lab, and
Why would you do that?
yeah, so but he was a brilliant guy who could have gone on to do a lot of crazy things. Who knows what he could have done?
That's how a lot of those people that get into the, what they call them, clandestine labs.
Yeah.
That's a lot of those guys get started. Is
And
they're
they get
super
busted.
smart,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
they
they-
realize
it's how I
I
can
like
make some
doing
money
this
out
so
of it.
much,
Yeah.
and I'm so smart. I know I got to start digging. I got to find a real quiet
Well,
place
it's like
to do
the
this.
Chinese. If they bust a hacker, you get to go to the government, work for the government. You get to join
Yeah.
the Communist Party, and you get to be a special hacker operator, and your family gets all this nice stuff as long as you
It's
work
like
for
you
the
want to
government.
get caught.
Yeah, as long as you work for the government. Yeah, so if you're a good hacker, then they want you working for them, and rather,
Catch me if you can.
rather than put you in
You know
jail.
what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, but what's the name of the guy in the movie?
Oh shit.
I always
I've not seen
remember
it forever.
because he says it so much in the movie. I always forget. But anyway, essentially the Fed hired him to figure out how checks were being
Yeah.
forged. They were like, if you're good enough to do this,
Abernathy.
Abernathy.
No,
yeah,
that
yeah.
was the cop of Abernathy, wasn't he?
Uh,
Dude, I gotta look. I'm sorry,
yeah, you're right, because he's going Abernathy.
Mr. Abernathy.
No, that's. There's a bunch of those out west. Have you ever seen the? You ever seen the website Blue Light by any chance? Do not go there. The government will know you. It's essentially just trip reports. And it's-
Abagnale. I just want to tell you, Frank Abagnale.
Frank
I have
Abagnale.
not gotten there yet on Wikipedia. I thought of it in my head. It's Frank Abagnale.
I was thinking of Frank Abernathy whenever you said
When
Abernathy.
you said Abernathy,
Yeah.
well, it's an A word.
Yeah.
There's websites you can go. Like I guess like the more psychedelic would be like Arrowhead.
Yeah.
But the one that's a little bit more scuzzy, which is where you can find the John McAfee post when he was making that super horny powder he was calling it. You can still, well, I don't know if they're probably archived. You go in there and find all John McAfee's crazy archive where he was making drugs. But you could, those sites are just loaded with these crazy chemist dudes constantly posting crap, and you're like, because I love just
I don't
consuming.
even know what this is.
Yeah, it's like the only reason I even knew about that website was because somebody had mentioned something in a form called Bromo Dragonfly, and another one I can't remember the name of, but it was a Bromo Dragonfly is essentially this acid, but the other one they mentioned was an auditory hallucinogen only, which would just make you hear shit, and I was like, that sounds.
No.
Oh yeah, I want some schizophrenia in a
I'm
pan.
good.
Why would you want that?
It's like those
Yeah,
people in jail that sneak in LSD, and it's like, why would you want to trip in a
No shit.
5 by 10?
Why would you
like,
suddenly want to be hyper aware that you can't leave?
Yeah.
Dude, no, thank you, man. Like,
Well, Crash, I appreciate you coming out and sharing some
appreciate
of
you
your
having
story,
me, man.
man. It's nice to have you over, and I think people really need to hear more stories like this to kind of put it in perspective, because I think too many people, especially people like our parents' age and maybe a little older, they don't really get the nuance of the situation and how people end up as an addict, and how, you know, regular, fine, upstanding community members can end up as an addict simply by trusting their doctor and trusting their government. Two things which you really want to make sure you have a good doctor. before
watch
you
Dope
trust
Sick
them.
on Hulu. I'm not being paid by them, but if they want to pay me, yeah, I'll take it.
But you should always you should find a doctor that you do trust, and if your doctor
sell out
is
like a mother.
you know, doctor is telling you something is safe, I would still look it up. I mean, it doesn't hurt you to read the package
How often
inserts.
the doctors don't know, because
I mean,
cyclists really set a lot of those doctors
Yeah,
up.
a lot
sure.
of the doctors believe what they're told by the reps. They read the
Well, and the reps
promotional
believe
information.
what they're told by the
Yeah.
pharmaceutical company, and that's a big part of the miniseries. Dope Sick on Hulu.
Well, it's also
Check it out.
a big part of the doctor situation that people don't really think about is that's just a person.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, he is.
And we're,
Just like you check out at your job, your doctor checks out his job too.
Dude,
I promise you.
My
Promise.
mom's doctor pulls his iPhone out of his white coat, and he's like, "Oh, maybe we should try you on."
Yeah, yeah. That's
But yeah, mom's got Parkinson's. I'm sure there's a lot. She's not in there with the flu.
well, they call it a practice for a reason.
Right.
That's literally the reason they call it a practice, because these guys are practicing at healing people.
I would like to say I don't hate doctors, and
Huh?
and these criminals here have records. I don't.
I don't have a record. I have zero.
Oh, you
records.
got exposed.
I got a hell of a record, though.
I'll quit interrupting y'all at the end.
No, but
Big
yeah.
up to my probation officer.
But no, luckily somebody was looking out there for me, and luckily I was able to get good representation and kind of work the system in my favor. But even still, look what it cost me over the years.
I feel you.
But there's a lot of people who don't get to do that, and especially. I don't want to get too hard on doctors either, because like I said, doctors do check out. They're human beings. They really
There's
have
good ones and bad ones.
but they really have no reason. If the FDA says a drug is safe and the drug rep says it's
They
safe,
have no reason to think it's not.
right? And all I can say is, folks, read your package inserts and talk to your doctor. Ask questions if you have concerns about something. And I know they're probably looking out for you in your best interest, but they are human beings, and it is a job. And I think a lot of them at the same time, they see so many people come in, with heart problems and things like that, and like they tell them to eat right. The person won't eat right, so they're
Yeah,
like, okay, just take this
dad-
freaking pill, okay.
my dad was,
So I'm sure you get burnt out.
Yeah, my dad died of a heart attack in 2010, and I remember since I was in the 4th grade when they found out he had heart disease, he had come home from his doctor's appointment, be like, "Hey, Dad, how's your doctor's appointment? What'd the doctor say?" Lose weight and quit smoking. As he busted a Marlboro Light out of his pocket and ate a fucking bacon sandwich, he ended up dropping dead. So,
So I'm sure doctors get jaded from seeing
They've got to.
patients constantly ignore
They've
their
got to.
recommendations.
Like me, whose
Yeah.
granddad died of a heart attack. My dad had a heart attack had a stent put in his heart at 56, I want to say.
my dad died at 58 of a heart attack.
And I think I'm probably going to go out the same way. I
Look at
mean,
me, man.
seems that's what would be taken by people.
Watch your cholesterol and triglycerides. Take you some fish oil. This is not medical advice. This is just what I do.
Have sex 4 times a day.
But with that, we appreciate you joining us, Crash. We appreciate you
Glad to
coming
be
on
here.
down.
Nice
Hey,
meeting you,
he's
Crash.
single, ladies.
It's a cliff. That's definitely bigamy.
I'm not single.
No, me.
You're married to Cliff. He's married to his wife. And
Oh,
you're looking
shit.
for a girl.
We're all going to prison. All right, let's bounce. I got to take a piss.
Thank you, folks.
Insert the closing song from